Okay, ready for the next part of this crazy story? So I'd had my first auditing session and I felt so much better, right? He asked me if I would come in for another appointment and I said, sure. And up to this point, I hadn't paid anything. He just did this for free because he wanted to help me. So I came in and he talked to me about what else we could do to solve these immediate issues I was having. And he talked about something called life repair. It's another introductory service that Scientology offers, but this one you have to pay a little bit for. So he said it's about 12 to 20 hours, and we'll directly address all the issues that you have right now so that you can feel better. I was like, how much? He said, $500. I was like, okay, well, it's cheaper than therapy. Let's do it. So I paid him $500, and then he scheduled me for my first life repair session, which was going to be in a couple days. And he said, make sure you're well rested, you've eaten, and no drinking or drugs. And I was like, I can do that. So the day came and I went in and I sat down across from him for our first life repair session. And he said, okay, so have you eaten? I said, yep. He said, are you tired? I said, nope. He said, any drinking or drugs? I said, no, just an aspirin for a headache I had yesterday. And he said, okay, well, I'll see you in a week. I was like, what? Why? He said, I said no drugs, and that includes aspirin. You can't have any drugs because it's going to hinder your spiritual progress. Okay, and I have to take a week? He said, yep. So, of course, now I'm even more intrigued because he's dangling this in front of me and then takes it away. Anyway, I did the life repair, and at the end of it, no more affair. I'd broken off with him with no problem. No more drugs. Well, I couldn't take any, but also I didn't have any desire to do drugs. And I was handling my money better. I was dealing with my relationships better. I thought, this is pretty cool. So then, of course, he said, well, do you want to continue? And I was like, sure. Out of the frying pan into the fire. So he explained to me that in order to go up the bridge to total freedom, you have a whole series of steps, right? And I'd have to start with a communication course, then what's called the purification rundown, and then grades 1 through 4, which handle a specific area of life to prepare me to do the auditing that's going to take me to the state of clear, which is where everybody wants to be. It's your first major step of accomplishment on the bridge, right? So at first it all sounded kind of like babble, but he took the time and explained it really thoroughly to me so I understood what I was going to be doing, if I was going to be doing it. And then he said, so you can do this in individual blocks of 12 hours that you pay for individually, or we can do it as a package from right where you are now all the way up through grade 4. Think about this. Does this sound like a religion to you? Yeah, me neither. But then again, he didn't tell me straight out that Scientology was a religion. He didn't explain it that way. He said Scientology is an applied religious philosophy. We give you tools to handle your life so that you can improve as a spiritual being. Very sneaky. In any case, he told me how much the package was, and I was like, well, I don't have that money. And he said, well, you'd be surprised where we can find it. Really? Okay. He said, do you have credit cards? I said, well, I have one. And it's got a $10,000 limit, which wasn't enough. And he said, well, we can fix that. He called the credit card company right there and had them increase it to $25,000, just like that. Did I want to use that money? No. Did I think I could pay it off? No. But he convinced me that I would become so much more capable by doing all these levels that I'd easily be able to make the money to pay off that card. I had no reason not to believe him because of what I'd experienced so far, right? Dangling the hook along. Da, da, da. So I went ahead and gave him all the money that was on the credit card, right? Thinking, okay, I'm making an investment in my future, in my spiritual freedom, and I'll be great after this. And what I didn't realize then was once I did that, I was pretty well stuck because it's almost impossible to get your money back from Scientology. So I was on board, and the next step was a bunch of processes to improve my communication. But what they really did was put me in a hypnotic state. But more on that in the next video. So follow me for more culty goodness.